Hi, I'm John Saphos, and I would like to show you how to build your own PC. After obtaining your materials and tools from the list I provided, the first step would be opening the case. All cases are different, so remove any screws or tabs, release the side panel, lift and slide out. The second step is installing the DVD and hard drives into the case. First, we remove any bezel from the front of the case. Next, we slide the DVD drive from the front into the bay. We secure with any screws, and we reattach the front bezel. Next, we attach the hard disk drive to a drive cage that's secured with 2 screws on the side. Then we take the drive cage and we install it into the case. We secure that to the case with 2 screws as well. The third step in the PC installation process is to install the power supply. Aligning the power supply to the case with the screw holes is important. Make sure it's within any guides or clips on the case. Attach the power supply with the provided screws. Also, choosing the proper wattage power supply is important, and how you use your PC determines what size is appropriate. Our next step, step 4, is attaching the motherboard to the case. That's done by maneuvering the motherboard onto the case. Aligning it is important, so make sure the screw holes match. Also, the card slots need to align with the card slot openings of the case. Attach the motherboard with the provided screws. Tighten the screws, but not over tighten. And make sure no hardware is left sitting on top of the motherboard, which could cause problems. Until now, all components were attached to the case. Now we will concentrate on installing components to the motherboard. So our next step, step 5, will show you how to plug in the CPU and the CPU fan. As our illustration shows, the CPU plugs into the CPU slot of the motherboard. Carefully align the pins and then lock the CPU into place. It's very important not to force the CPU into the slot, as that can bend the pins and cause further problems. In order to help dissipate the heat, a heat sink compound is applied on top of the CPU. A thin coat of this compound is applied to the top of the CPU, and then it's distributed evenly with a small plastic blade. The second part of the CPU installation consists of installing the heatsink assembly and the CPU cooling fan. The cooling fan is mounted on top of the heatsink assembly, which mounts on top of the CPU in between the heatsink transfer compound that we installed. It is then secured on the mounting bracket with a tension lever. It's very important that this is installed correctly to prevent any type of overheating or CPU failures, which could ruin your PC. Our next step, step 6, we install memory in the computer. The DIMM module comes in different densities. It also has asymmetrical notches on the card which prevent it from being inserted incorrectly onto the motherboard. When aligned, the memory card snaps into the slot. The next important step is to properly install all the cables. There are 2 types of cables. First, we'll discuss the communication cables. They attach the devices to the motherboard. Their purpose is to transfer data and status. They connect the drives and ports, such as the USB connections, to the motherboard. They are inserted into the motherboard with color-coded connections. If in doubt, a plugging chart would be available on the motherboard manual. The second part of the cable installations are the power cables. The power cables come from the power supply and are used to supply power to all the components of the PC. Specific connectors are used to power the drives, motherboard, the lights, and the fans of the PC. The connectors are keyed and are made to specifically plug into each module. Once again, if in doubt, refer to the documentations of the power supply and the motherboard. When the cable connections are completed, it is critical to tie back the loose power cables and organize them to not restrict airflow in the case. Overheating issues could occur and could limit the life of your PC. The eighth step in our process is to install the video graphics card. Video graphics card inserts into either the video card slot or the PCI slot of the motherboard. The plug side of the card faces outwards through the cage, inserted firmly, and secured with a Phillips screw. Step 9 is our final check. Check that all cables and cards are securely fastened and any hardware is removed that's left in the case. Reattach the side panel. Your PC is now ready. You will now need to attach any external devices such as a monitor, keyboard, mouse, and power. Thank you for your time listening to my presentation, and good luck.